Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play Cast. Here we go. It's episode 209, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your host, magicman, aka Mike Byrne. We've got PAX South. We've got Lord of the Rings Online. What? Lord of the Rings on? What? We're going to talk about Lord of the Rings on? What? Well, that means we must certainly have Mr. Jason Winter on the line. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, although I was really kind of hoping I'd get the lamp instead of you today.
No, we have... Skype has improved my performance with updates.
Yeah, sure it has.
Yeah, apparently. Way to go, Skype. Thanks. Also on the line, Mr. Zach Sharps. What's up, sir?
Not so much. We're going to be taking the hobbits to Isengard today, so...
Yes, we're going to be taking our travels through Middle Earth, with some LOTRO news, which really it doesn't make it all that often to the show. So let's jump in and get started with the news. Alright, so first, obviously, PAX South was this past weekend. On the free-to-play front, there were quite a few different things to explore, quite a few companies making somewhat bigger and somewhat smaller announcements, and some people that we kind of wondered, hey, they haven't been to PAX South in a while. All of a sudden, they're on the docket. Is there something going on? Is there something they want to announce that we didn't see coming? So, let's go to our correspondent in the field.
Well, I was in the field. Now I'm back in the not field.
Don't stop. Let everybody believe you're at PAX South right now.
Yeah. Hey, we're gonna have crowd noise.
Yes. Anderson Cooper, overall, how was PAX South as a whole? Forget free-to-play for a second. Your thoughts. You go almost every year for the last few years, so was it better? Was it worse? Was there a lot to do? Was there some cool stuff that even Jason Winter was liking, whether it was the Nintendo Switch demos, stuff like that? Give us the vibe overall.
I didn't even get close to the Switch. There was like people around it all the time. But yeah, I mean, it was as crowded as ever. I mean, it felt a lot like a previous PAXs, PAX South at least, that I've been to. For me personally, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting old and crusty now, and I just don't get hyped up as much about stuff as I used to. Nothing really like grabbed me like, oh my god, this is the thing I have to have or I'm gonna really want. So it was sort of like that for me. Maybe it was like that for other people. Maybe other people liked it a lot more. But I don't know. I haven't heard any really major things come out of it. Like, oh my god, did everyone see this at the show? So I don't know.
What did it look like attendance-wise? Not just attendees, but also booth holders. How is it compared to previous years? Does it look like it's on the up, about the same, on the downs? What's traffic-wise?
It looked like it was about the same, both in terms of, like you said, both the people, the consumers there, and the booths seemed pretty crowded. I kept, every now and then, I'd be like, okay, I've got to get from this booth here to this booth over here. All right, that was only like 5 rows over. Sure, I go 5 rows. Not there. Okay, 5 more rows. Oh, it's not there. 5 more rows. Okay, there it is. Finally. So it seemed bigger than it was at times.
So all in all, you got your hands on some stuff. I mean, I watched Angry Joe, his review of his Nintendo Switch experience there. Angry Joe being from that area of the United States. Easy to attend. So I got my Switch feel on how small those Joy-Con controllers were, Zach, something you and I had talked about previously, and there's no way you're going to rip those off and hand one to another and play Mario Kart with them. You look like you're palming a cell phone while you're doing it.
Yep.
But on the free-to-play front, let's start off with, if you don't mind, Jason, we're going to skip...
I got a list here. I got little notes I'm ready to talk about.
We'll skip a little ahead here. Onto Hyper Universe, something we talked about last show. We got the news pretty much the day before PAX South started that Nexon was going to be announcing Hyper Universe, this kind of side-scrolling, action-y arcade MOBA. Zach, your impressions of it were kind of along the lines of mine. I'll try it. I like that it's an interesting take. We'll see if it's actually implemented well and if it's fun, but we don't anticipate it's something that we would stick with all that long. Jason, you got your hands onto it. What'd you think?
It's a MOBA. I mean, there's no two ways about it. It's a MOBA. It's got all the stuff you expect, just with going vertically instead of lanes. It has lanes and towers. There just happen to be more horizontal things. There's like 7 different levels of it, so a little more variety there. But it's got all the standard MOBA elements. Lanes and towers. You got to get to the opponent's nexus, kill it. minions spawn, go back to your base, you level up, you buy items, and all the girls have really big boobs.
Yeah, well, I mean, we kind of got a feel for that in the trailer, didn't we, Zach?
You got a feel for really big boobs?
Yeah. We kind of got a feel for that, Zach, in the kind of tongue-in-cheek pop culture references and things like that in the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I mean, even after PAX and seeing stuff come out about it, it's still one of those things where it's like, I'm not really that interested in it. I mean, I might check it out. I might not. It depends what's going on at the time. And it just doesn't seem like it has that big of a draw compared to like other stuff at the event. Like, I believe it's called Dauntless, which might have more of a draw. So,
speaking of the devil,
Ooh.
Dauntless is
What
one
a segue.
that I am very much looking forward to. Now, here's my deal with this before you get into your opinions after messing around with it. I think it's the closest we're going to get to a Monster Hunter Online here in the West type game, so I'm very much looking forward to it. I love the Monster Hunter series on my my 3DS and all my handhelds. Love it, love it, love it. Would love to get the MMO, but hey, I'll settle for this. I like Dauntless's art style. Some of the gameplay right now, and I know it's early in as far as their testing and releases stuff, some of the gameplay looks a little rough around the edges to me.
Mm-hmm.
But that, again, I'm not playing it. I'm just watching certain videos and people play. Zach, did a bug fly through or something? What was that?
no, I just sneezed, so.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
I was like, what
Maybe
the?
his
He's ducking for cover from something.
I thought it was his gyroscopic stabilization system because he doesn't have the legs. I thought it kind of went
Right?
off on him for a second.
Yeah.
So
I
I'm
mean-
really looking forward to it, although it does look a little rough and it makes me nervous. You got some hands-on time. What are some thoughts?
Yeah, well, first of all, I agree that it is beautiful. It is wonderful to look at. It's full AAA production values, all that sort of thing. And yeah, I don't know. The combat just didn't feel quite right to me, and that's going to have to be a really big point of it. Like that's the part
They
they
have to get
make
that
out
right.
perfect.
I mean,
yeah,
that's the
absolutely
game.
has to. Absolutely has to. Like I say, it's early. It's still in pre-alpha. They're going to go into open beta later this year, like October, I think was the
Right.
date I was told. So they got a lot of time to work that sort of thing out. In general, as an MMO, like again, maybe I went in with thinking a little too much. I was hoping it would be more like a kind of open world sort of thing, but it's really just instance and session based. The best comparison I gave to it being that it's a PvE co-op game. I thought it's basically going to be kind of like Warframe, except instead of going after a ton of bad guys in the zone, you go after one bad guy. You form your group of 4, you go kill that, go back to the central hub, repeat over and over until you get enough loot or whatever you want. So,
yeah. And that's what I got the impression of, that it was a Phantasy Star Online type instance-based stuff. And even going with the Monster Hunter aspect of it, yeah, you can argue that it's, open world there, but it is closed off little areas that you go to for each of these hunts. So I'm not personally surprised by any of that. Zach, we haven't really gotten your opinions on it. Is this one you're looking forward to? I know you're a Monster Hunter fan.
I mean, yeah, it's one of those games that I hope turns out really good, but it's also, everything I've seen from it thus far hasn't blown me away either. I mean, as far as like its AAA qualities, they're definitely there. The game does look good. It's just the combat, even in the little early gameplay clips that I've seen of it, doesn't look that great yet. And I'm not really sure how expansive it's going to be, and that's a big concern because Monster Hunter games have always been great because they're more expansive, they're very in-depth in terms of the complexity of fights. But with this game, is that really going to hold true, or is it going to be a more simplistic form? It's something that we'll have to wait and see how that all turns out. But I hope it turns out well because it could be a game that I really enjoy as long as it's executed properly.
Jason, you got a chance to sit down and not only play it, but also talk to the team. And I got to say, after reading your interview, they said all the right things as far as the monetization goes.
Yes and no, because I got a little. I had to actually go for clarification on this because, one of the big points I say it is, if you see someone wearing the dragon armor, they killed the dragon to get it. So I'm like, okay, fine, that means that's a big deal. Looking good and having those kind of cosmetics is a big deal, but they're also going to sell cosmetics, which of course, games do. Free-to-play games always sell cosmetics, but in a game where you're basically so much of your prestige on wearing the cool dragon armor or whatever that you kill to get it, doesn't it kind of detract from it a little bit then if you can buy something else as well? So it's the classic, it's the classic thing you do in a free-to-play game. You sell cosmetics, but it's tough to have that kind of emphasis on it when you're going to be doing it, both ways there. I don't know how I feel about that exactly.
Well, to me, I think they would have to put some type of variant in it. Some type
Well, yeah, it's not going to be
of-
the exact same thing. They talk about you don't buy stat gear. Well, it's not pay to win. That was the absolute first thing that came out of his mouth, because everybody has to say that. There's no stat gear, but again, it just worries me a little bit to think that's how it's going to be.
No, I would think that even visually there has to be some type of difference between me getting the Black Dragon chest armor and Zach buying the Black Dragon chest armor. I would just think that visually there has to be some distinction between the two to maintain what you're talking about. This, oh my god, Jason just ran by and he's got the Hydra leather boots. Oh my god, he's a badass. Look at him. He's awesome, which these types of games thrive on. I mean, that's your bragging points right there. It's not a guild hall or a house and you have that rare drop up on the wall. It's what you're running around in. That's a big draw to this type of game, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's one of the aspects of, if they do sell cosmetics like that the in-game gear is going to be similar to it. I think it's going to be more of like if you go kill like a dragon and the dragon armor, it will look amazing if you get like the ultra rare dragon armor. But the stuff that you buy on the item mall will look good as well, but everyone will know you bought that from the cash shop because it's only available in said cash shop.
Yeah.
Like that's where I would see them going with this.
Same.
And that's completely fine, in my opinion, as long as they don't like extremely abuse it and they make it so the in-game stuff that you can get also looks really, really great as well. Because that is, like you say, that's the draw of these types of games. You want to have that prestige, and the prestige within what you look like, because that's what you accomplish within the game. So
yeah, and what you're farming
definitely
is
see what you're
materials
saying.
anyway. You're not getting that chess piece off of Jason Dragon. You're getting materials that you can farm up and have the NPCs craft for you.
The way he described it, it was basically almost like a barter system. Really, you bring the stuff to the NPCs, 5 dragon scales, and they make the chess piece out of it or whatever. Yeah.
Classes were handled more along the lines of whatever weapon you had equipped rather than a predetermined class at the beginning. So kind of, again, in the vein of Monster Hunter. I mean, I'm amazed a company hasn't done this already. Get as close as you can to a Monster Hunter MMO without getting sued. But it looks like Dauntless might fill that void for me. I'm just hoping that they do it well. So we'll have to wait and see. We don't have access to the game in any capacity for testing or anything yet. Also at PAX South, Try-On Worlds was there. And I say that because it's interesting to me because they haven't been for the last few years.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, they didn't have anything really like major or spectacular to announce. They're really just kind of showing off all their games. Pretty much everything was there. I mostly talked to the guy, Merv Kwai, about Arcage. And he went on. We talked a bit about the fresh start stuff and how successful that had been, how much better it was than they had thought. They actually said they got like 5 times as many people as they were expecting. So that helped contribute to some of the issues they had when they launched and so on. just a few of the issues. But I mean, and granted, I understand why he says this sort of thing. But he said basically, that it had been so successful and that it had really made a lot of people think about the early part of the game and even about Alpha, which of course everybody loved. Everybody loved Arcade Alpha, and the numbers seem to kind of back that up. We talked about this a little before, is how they, at least according to what we've seen on Steam, how they went up and they just kind of come down just a little bit since Revelation. So they're maintaining pretty well. People are saying generally decent things about it when it works and there's not some sort of screw up. But yeah, he's really happy with how things are going and thinks it's going to just keep going on.
It's kind of funny that you have to put the asterisk on it when it works. When it works, it's great.
At least we don't have a page on our site talking about Arcade fails.
Yeah, when it works, it's fantastic. It's just amazing. I was surprised to see them there, Zach. I kind of thought, and I had asked Jason beforehand. I was like, wait, Try-On's going to be there? I would anticipate that would come with some type of an announcement, even if it was, something small, kind of like a Smite does. Hey, we've been working on this, but didn't tell anybody. Here you go, kind of high res approach. But no, and so I got to say, good on them. It was good to see them there without hawking some brand new project and that being the reason that they were there. I like their presence there since they're also in the area. I mean, it's always seemed to me to be kind of weird that they weren't.
Everybody's
there.
in Austin. Just about everybody has an office in Austin. I'm surprised they don't all exhibit there.
So I thought it was nice to see them there, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Atlas Reactor is, something that's been prominent for them lately. They're trying to get that right. They're trying to get hype behind it. So it makes sense to go to one of these conventions, especially after the payment model switch, just to show everyone the game again, see how it's been updated. If press people haven't really gotten back into it to see the changes and whatnot. So that makes sense. And then Arcade, of course. How don't they have like the worst pulse on their community if they didn't think that many people were going to play that, because everyone was hyped for it. Like I saw people ever since the announcement that was going to be a thing really hyped up for it. How don't you know? Like it just their community management and stuff like that just must not have any sort of a pulse on anything. Or they're just lying to be like, oh, well, we just didn't expect this, guys. I don't know.
I played for crying out loud. I downloaded and played.
So, yeah, it's bizarre. But, yeah, I mean, it's definitely good for them. I mean, they need to do this, and especially with Atlas Reactor. And I think this also just goes to show that they might not be fully confident in Atlas Reactor because they did something that was out of the ordinary when that game is sort of on the cusp of sort of being released, fully released and out there. So, yeah.
Oh, and I should say, too, that Merv had a little bit of a transition issue because then we talked about what was coming up next to Arcade. We talked about a giant world boss and then underwear.
I'm sorry, what?
Yep, the big underwear revamp is also going to be a big deal in February.
Speaking of Atlas Reactor, Tryon, poor Tryon. I sent this to Jason the other day. I was like, oh man, even when Tryon tries to do something cool, it gets foobarred. So they sent me some promotional things with a little card saying that Atlas Reactor is now free to play and everything. And they sent, what do we got here? So we got a little pup pin there, one of the characters in the game. Got this mug. Look at that!
Wow,
that's quite the hair there. So got that mug, and then there was a 3D printed statuette that was about this big of this guy here. And I thought when I opened it that I had to put it together because it was in 15 pieces. No, it was just in 15 pieces, so I don't have that anymore to show you. But thank you, Tryon, for a few things, and good luck on Atlas Reactor there. Before we head on to LOTRA, anything else, Jason, free-to-play world you wanted to bring up from PAX?
I mean, there were a lot of other games there, which I spent a little bit of time with. Dreadnought was there again for their third year in a row. I talked to Mike Donatelli, a former guy at WildStar, so didn't know he was working there. They talked about changing their progression system to try to make it a little simpler, to not overwhelm players with all the choices that they would have had originally. So that was a big reason for that. Brawlhalla was there, Blue Mammoth Games, talking about how they have 5 million installs. How many they have now? Yep, and they're doing like big money World Championship tournaments too, so they're really into that.
Wow.
Direwolf Digital was there, showing off their card games and board games, or card games, digital card games and physical board games. Of course, they do Eternal. They've made a lot of changes to that as well. Change up about a third of the cards since beta started like 6 months ago. They also still do the Elder Scrolls Legends. They do that as well. And then the other game that I didn't know at all, that I just happened to wander by, free-to-play game, is called Foxhole. It's a persistent World War II game, which has got like little I don't know how to put this. Almost say kind of like a League of Legends kind of control in terms of the viewpoint or whatever. You have to aim your shots, and you have to, I was with another guy. We tried to steer an artillery piece in front of a building to blow up to get the Nazis or whatever. Fun little thing I played around for a little while. It's free to play on Steam, so check it out if that sort of thing interests you.
Awesome. Well, good on PAX South. Sounds like a very good convention. Lots of free-to-play news. Jason has written some of those pieces up on the site, so if you want to read more in-depth about Dauntless, particularly the interview or some of the other things Jason covered, head on over to mmobomb.com, give the website a ring, and take a look at all the good stuff there.
The website a ring?
Speaking of the ring...
You're going to ruin his transition, Jason.
It's like, shut up, Jason. It's segue time, bitch. Lord of the Ring online players. Guess what? You will be going to Mordor. Woohoo! We talked about it for years. The day is finally coming. You are going to go to Mordor. That's awesome. But it's going to be after the ring is destroyed. I think my Star Wars The Old Republic sound effect just went off. Disregard that sound effect. Not the right game. But you won't be there until after the ring is destroyed. So the good news is you'll go there. Bad news is the ring's already gone. Frodo and team have done what they have come to do, and the One Ring has already been destroyed. Jeff Libby, in an interview with MMO Central, said on the topic, that's against the very spirit of everything we've been building up over the course of the game, talking about all the players being in Mordor when this event happens. So this is one of those things where monitoring chatter on community sites and whatnot, people seem to be very concerned with how are they? We're going into Mordor in the Mordor expansion. Isn't this like going to be playing right into Sauron's hands? I can't believe they do this. And the answer is no, we're not doing that. We're trying to remain as faithful as we've always had. So, like, fairly early on in the expansion, I think you'll see that things get sorted out in a way, and then Mordor is our oyster. You will be able to watch some of those events unfold. You're not going to miss out completely, but they haven't specified how that's going to go down yet, whether it's a cutscene or maybe something a little more interactive. It's not just totally going to be skipped, but you will not be playing through that portion of the story. I'm split on this, Jason. I'm really, really, really split on this. On one side, being a Lord of the Rings fan, I can understand, how does that jive with this iconic moment, and you don't want to be in Mordor because Sauron wants you in Mordor, and so that's why we're sneaking Frodo and team in and Sam to drop the ring in and do their thing. But on the other hand, shit, I want to be there for this iconic Lord of the Rings moment. So as not only a Lord of the Rings fan, but a longtime player, what are your thoughts on how this big, cataclysmic, epic, iconic event seems to be going down in the game?
I'm fine with it.
Are you really?
I mean, yeah, I am. I mean, they've done this before with a lot of other big moments. Like they'll be told via flashbacks, or you look into like Galadriel's mirror and you get a vision, or you have a dream or something. They've done that occasionally, especially when it's been something related to the Fellowship while they're kind of on their sneaky mission and you don't really know, and no one is actually like hanging around with them, which is, of course, is against the point. They're supposed to be all sneaky and doing all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, I don't really have a problem with not being there and seeing it directly. Maybe like I said, you'll see it afterwards, or you'll see it as it happens. And Gandalf gives you a vision or something like that. So I'm cool with that kind of idea.
Zach?
I mean, I'm not really a LOTRO player. I like Lord of the Rings. I watched all the movies. I didn't read the books at all, so I'm not like super into the lore. I really just sort of looked at the mainstream stuff. And to me, it makes sense. It's not like that big of a deal. I just wish LOTRO was sort of made into a new game that was more modern, because then I'd play it. It just, for me, whenever I went back and played it, it feels a bit on the dated side. And that's sad, because everything about the game, besides like the combat, I'm not really a huge fan of Tab Target anymore. Besides that, it seems to be really rich in the lore. It seems to be really, good for the fans, and I don't see this being a huge deal for the fan base.
I think your position on this probably falls on where you are in the Lord of the Rings spectrum. I'm like kind of right in the middle, and so I'm like, oh, I'd really like to take part in that event, but I also understand why they're not doing it like that. Okay, fine. I think, Jason, and correct me if I'm wrong, I just get the feeling that this is a decision that the more hardcore Lord of the Rings fan base, and particularly player base that is also hardcore fan base, they're going to love this approach, whereas somebody a bit more casual into the game and just, peripherally aware of some of the big iconic moments might be a little more disappointed that this event isn't something they're actively taking part in.
Well, I think that's why they're going to do something like I said, like a flashback, like an instance of some kind, where you actually will get to see it, even if you can't participate in it yourself. I mean, I just think even the casual fans would realize they can't just be standing there and watching Gollum and go after Frodo and all that and be like, well, maybe I'll just give Gollum a push to help him get off the ledge. That's totally how it happened in the books and the movies, right?
Yeah, it is a harder situation to deal with, right? You're dealing with a very, very, very detailed, well-established IP and set-piece moments, and how far can you open that up to an individual player's experience without just trouncing on the original source material? It's not an enviable position.
I've actually got the perfect solution. I say you can go there and view it and be a part of it, but the problem is Gandalf doesn't have room on the Eagles to bring you back. So
you just get to sit there
and die. The volcano to kill you.
Die.
Yeah.
And die. Lord of the Rings also celebrating its 10th anniversary. Whew. Kind of coinciding with update 20. And then there's also a little bit of dish in the producer's letter on updates 21 and 22. Not extreme depth, but a little bit of stuff on there. So you can find that stuff on MMO Bomb's site. Now, the 10th anniversary, Jason, they're going to do the usual, they said the usual anniversary stuff. So maybe you can enlighten us on that a little bit. But also there's going to be some brand new event because of it being a decade. But they have not released any of those details yet. So is anniversary a big thing in Lord of the Rings? I know WoW, emails or mails me a couple things, and that's basically all I do for it.
Yeah, it's about the same thing. You get like a little package of loot to celebrate how long you've been in the game. It also coincides generally with their spring festival, so you have that sort of stuff going on. So, yeah, nothing really spectacular, fireworks, whatever. Well, actually, there probably are fireworks, but
probably are. Updates. Before we move on and cover the bombs, let's cover one or two updates here that I just kind of thought were a bit weird. And Zach, I'm going to start with you and this one on Aion because it's a game you and I have talked about more than Jason and I. We dabble in the old Aion over the years. It's definitely one that I kind of jump into now and again. So getting an update, which is great, patch 5.3, fantastic, awesome, more content and everything. But to me, it was just weird. This update is going to focus on like large-scale end-game content. I just find it really odd for a game as aged as Aion is at this point to be building in more large-scale end-game content. Yeah, add end-game shit. Those players need something to do, but I'm talking... All right. How about 384 players large, Zach? 384 players.
That is a future high-low question.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I totally was sitting there trying to figure out, like, when you see 511, you're like, okay, that must be a memory cap at 512. Okay, numbers that make 384 makes no sense to me. Where we pulled this number from. There's attacks on Pandemonium and Sanctum directly, and you have to join these PV instance, this PV instance with 384 players, which, for God's sakes, 384 players. And then there's some PvP. The PvP side of things, the Arena of Tenacity, that I get. It's a single player or a single person elimination tournament. Okay, that I get that. But then there's all kinds of new gear and stuff added for there. But it just seemed really bizarre to me to be adding large-scale end-game content to a game that old. Like, Lord of the Rings wouldn't do that at this point. They don't have the player base to support that type of stuff. Does Aion?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm looking at it from in the West, no. But in the East, yes. Is that it?
And that's what I think they're going for, is because the game is still popular in the East. They're basically trying to, I would think that this is not like a super high difficulty thing. Like these 384 players or whatever are not going to have to super coordinate with each other or anything like that. It's probably going to be sort of like a looking for raid type system where
no, get your ass on Discord, all 384 of you.
Yeah, it's probably going to be something that's very simple to do, something easy to do, that's just sort of an experience, but you can also get, loot and stuff from it as well. And as far as the number goes, I would have to think they probably were just trying to optimize the dang thing. And we're like, okay, 384 is like basically our limit here, guys. We can't go anything higher than that because the frame rate will drop. It just doesn't work. Let's just stick with 384. So yeah, I don't know. I don't mind it. it's if it's not supposed to be like a super coordinated thing, I don't mind it at all. But
yeah, if it would have been a number like, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, as we, 256, 512, but I was like 384. Where did it's like, how did you play test that to come to that number? Did you have that many people in the office? I don't know. Hopefully the damn thing scales. That's all I have to say, is hopefully it scales to the number. Another weird update, maybe this one's more down your ballpark here, Jason. Star Wars The Old Republic, talking about patch 5.2 upcoming. Of course, they talked about some of the galactic... whatever thing. Galactic Command. Galactic Command. Whatever. I couldn't remember. The Galactic Command changes that they're going to be going through, and some new companions and stuff. The big one here is that for PvE players who have kind of been asked out for a long time as far as endgame operations and things like that, the good news is they're finally bringing another operation to the table. The bad news is it's going to take you pretty much this entire year to get the entire operation. It's a 5-boss operation. They're dropping them 1 boss at a time. And so you'll get the normal and the, what is it? Normal and veteran, I believe.
Heroic? No, that's wild.
Yeah, you'll get the
Yeah, I forget what it's called.
Yeah. You'll get the story. That's what it's story. It's not normal. Story and the veteran mode of the first boss when it launches. Then when they launch the second boss, you'll go back and get the master mode for the first boss and move on those trains. So it was kind of good news, and they talked about the idea of we thought about launching this all at once, but it would be much later this year, or piecemealing it out. And frankly, I would have rather them launch the whole thing at the end of the year. It's not like things we've seen World of Warcraft or other games do where they're launching whole wings of things and you've got 3 or 4 bosses in there. This is literally 1 boss at a time, Jason, and it kind of just turns me off. I'm not cool with the way they're releasing this.
I think it's a decent way to go. For as you said, if it was going to take them all year to get everything out, for as long as the hardcore operations, PvE players have wanted something, to get something in front of them, even if it's only a little bit at a time, give them time to master it, and then a month and a half or whatever later they get the next version of it. I think it's a decent way to go for something that really needs this kind of content to be out there.
Zach?
I think it's honestly one of those things where if this game wasn't a primarily sub-based game, I mean, most people, unless you just play strictly the story, you're going to have to be subbing pretty much the entire time you want to play. I would be fine with it if it was a free-to-play game, like a fully free-to-play game where you would be able to hop in this without a problem for free. But because it's this one boss and you're having to pay $15 a month, it's like, you look at other games that you have to do the same, like a Final Fantasy 14, a World of Warcraft, and they could release multiple bosses, so why the hell can't BioWare and Star Wars The Old Republic? It's kind of weird, but I mean, personally myself, I wouldn't mind it if the sub wasn't a thing, and because of the fact that it breaks it up. It definitely does break it up, makes it somewhat of a smaller experience. That way you can sort of trickle it out over the course of the months. But this is why I don't really stay in Star Wars The Old Republic more than just for the story, because everything else about the game, it doesn't draw me and it doesn't keep me, because it doesn't really seem like BioWare cares too much about the rest of the game other than just pushing the story forward to keep hitting those release windows for the movies and to bring in all the cash. That's just sort of what the game is starting to feel like for me, is this somewhat, not necessarily like a full cash grab, but that's what they're definitely going for, is the story and only the story around the release of the movies.
Yeah, the one thing I feel like is BioWare does, to me, they do listen to their community. They just do it, like, really long after their community has said this thing.
Yeah.
Like, we want more story, and then, like, a year and a half, it all went to just story. And then, hey, where the hell are the operations and stuff? And then a year and a half, 2 years, this... Like, I get the feeling they do listen. It's just the reaction time is so... I don't know. Let's slide over to the weekly bomb, speaking of SWTOR. Get mine out of the way. A-bomb to SWTOR's operation outline. I think a single boss release schedule sucks. I understand why they're doing it. I'm glad that there's operation content being added. But for me, single bosses, that's... No. A wing? Okay, fine. You do your 3 or 4 bosses and then do these 3... I don't like it. I don't like it. Jason, go ahead.
I'm going to give a bomb to myself and to my hand sanitizer for not catching any diseases at PAX this year.
Yeah, I spent the weekend sick as hell. Ugh.
Yeah, somehow I went to the convention and you got sick.
I think you emailed it to me. That's what happened.
I sent you a virus. Ooh.
Go ahead, Zach. Oh, that's so bad.
I'm gonna give a dub bomb to Nintendo for releasing free-to-play mobile games with their IPs. Like they already had Super Mario Run, which was somewhat freemium. I mean, you could play a few levels, and you had to pay for it. Now they have Fire Emblem Heroes, which I believe is fully free, but then there's like a lot of paid microtransactions and stuff. I was gonna check that out here soon and play it and see what it's all about. But I just like that they're finally branching out to different outlets because Nintendo IPs have a lot of weight. People want them on other platforms, and Nintendo, I hope will see that and start releasing a lot more stuff on alternate platforms because it will make them a ton more money than they're currently making.
From the viewers, we've got Hellsworth checking in with a da-bomb to Wildstar. What? Hold on, is this right? Oh, I guess I got it right.
He is like 1/3 of their player base.
It's da-bomb on Wildstar. I think I'm going to pick it up seriously now since everything else seems too much of a letdown anyways, and I seriously like the moves they are taking. Da-bomb on Hilo? You should make Hilo great again by introducing a third competitor, and the loser would have to say a random try-on corrective sentence while tapping his hand in midair and making the following letters with your right hand index and thumb fingers. LOL. Tapping out each letter 3 times with your hand in accordance with the syllables of a word you say. Nah, seriously. One thing I have to point out is that you guys need to figure some sort of loser needs to do / wear something. And it'll not be great. It'll be awesome. I kind of thought in my own head there needs to be a punishment for this too, but you know, it's just how
we actually want to get people on the show, right?
How do we want to do that, right? You know, it's fine for the 3 of us, but we're gonna have other guests on. Go ahead, Jason. Thank you for the feedback on Hilo though.
Hairdrex Sky Shadow says dub-bomb to Dota 2 for the Dark Moon event. It has been so long since the last good event in Dota. It's nothing special. Basically, it's a horde mod, and it gives all the players the opportunity to get cosmetics. Yay! Now everyone can look like a douchebag that has too much money and time and has no idea what a support hero does. You may say that's dumb, it's in the name, but I've lived and suffered through such stupidity, it hurts.
And I don't doubt you for a minute. Go ahead, Zach.
Cleopatra Rog says, I always like trying out new MMO titles from overseas. I usually do that because
our Korean conversation from last week.
Yeah, I usually do that because when I burn out playing one of my main games, I like trying out something new and fresh. It's also a good way for me to compare the differences in games when they bring in NA localization. Good example here is Hero Wars. I played it on Korean servers ever since the release, and when I finally got around to playing on NA servers, all I could feel was disappointment. The game looked like a poor clone of the original game with major things either totally changed, broken, or removed. I don't think I even maxed out but one character before going back, and I don't think I'll ever even try playing on NA servers after they bring the game back, if that happens. Ha 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 ha. And then we have the titles that won't make it here at all. Monster Hunter Online, I'm still hoping. Phantasy Star Online 2, Airpeel, I don't know why but I have so much love for this game. Moonlight Blade, speaking of NA servers, closers, Critica Online. And I even enjoyed playing Asker and the War of Genesis 4 online for a good while. There is so many, and some too enjoyable not to try them, even if only once.
Yeah, to me it just seems like a hell of a lot of work. Maybe I'm just lazy. That's it. Sokapex, this week I have to give a dub-bomb to Paladins. I thought it was just an Overwatch clone, but it has quite some depth. The more I play, and now that I've started to grasp loadouts and builds, I'm actually beginning to think Paladins is much more complex strategically than the other team-based shooter that served as inspiration. Of course,
Team Fortress 2?
Right. Yes. Of course, Hi-Rez has proven it can make amazing shooters, like the best shooter there ever was, Tribes Ascend, and then they killed it and moved all resources to Smite, and I will never forgive you, Hi-Rez! On a completely off-track side, there was a lot of capitals. I had to read it that way. On a completely off-track side note, got a Zowie mousepad. And oh my god, mousepad's insane. Honestly, it's like butter. It's like butter. It's a nice mutton, lettuce, and tomato where the mutton's lean and... No? Nobody? Okay. If you got the reference,
Sort of.
put it in the comments.
I've heard stuff like that.
Honestly, it's like butter and comfy and luxurious, but not dirty like butter. This mousepad has changed my life forever. Congratulations on your pretty sweet mousepad, man. Go ahead, Zach. Or Jason.
Okay, I thought you were giving me the next one, but okay. You sure you don't want to switch?
Yeah, I do want to switch. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Zach, go ahead.
Go.
All right, Proxy Muddies HD says, I just want to comment about Snail Games for a sec. I want to like their games that are coming out. They look very interesting, Dark and Light, Age of Wushu 2, but as an long-time Age of Wushu player, this company scares the living shit out of me. The lies, the GM corruption in some of their games, Black Gold and Age of Wushu, and the pay-to-win in all of their other games just makes me say nope to all their new games they keep bringing out on the table. Like, if you look at Age of Wushu and see how they just abandoned the game, it'll make you quite sad because it's a very good game. But just my 2 cents on them.
So lots of people jumping in just to kind of be the first one there or tell the differences. Go ahead, Jason. Take it.
Janeth says, A-bomb to Jason for Packer bashing. Hey, I got a question for you. Why can't Packer fans make Kool-Aid?
I have no idea.
Because you can't figure out how to get 2 quarts of water inside those little packages.
What?
It's me, James E. says I play Korean MapleStory to try out some of the stuff before it becomes global or to Europe. I played MapleStory 2 Korea just to give it a try mainly. So, yeah, maybe I'm just not on the boat there. Question of the week last week, what's a fun top 5 you'd like to see us cover? Yeah, we could do traditional lists, but frankly, we want to have a little more fun with that. If you think it's a crazy list, it might be exactly what we're looking for. A number of you emailed me at my MMO bomb address, a ton of options there. I did not put your comments in the show. Apologies. It's not just to not put them here. It's because you guys wrote a lot. So I appreciate the feedback. We did read it. We may use some of those lists, but I just won't be reading them here. Elusive X Treasure says, I know I commented on the editorial that Steven wrote, but I thought I'd put a quick one here. I really enjoyed Steven's piece, and I just wanted to give him a warm welcome and reiterate that I hope to see more. I talked to Steven today. His next assignment is already out, so we will have that shortly for you. For the question of the week, I think the top 5 inexplicably addictive MMOs would be a fun list. I know it's an opinion thing, but I know we've all experienced the feeling of loving a game and having no logical reason why. And that one came up an awful lot. Like the 5 MMOs the MMO Bomb team keeps playing, but has no idea why. That came up quite a few times. Go ahead, Jason.
Hellsworth says, question of the week, here are some crazy top 5s for you guys to dwell in. Top 5 free-to-play you would not download. Rip-offs, or even games or just systems. Cash grabs, best worst game systems, any type. Most insane packs, casual content. Character builders. Storylines. Sure-to-fail games, you should comment on the Fallout. Download size. Oldest free-to-play active. Best high-end gaming. These should be enough to start. Best high-end gaming, period. These should be enough to start with, besides my usual top 5 free-to-play microtransaction store, which are crazy enough in itself.
Zach!
Bar None says top 5 games you play, but have no fucking idea why.
See?
Which sounds like, yeah.
It was always the same thing. It was worded differently. Hydrex Sky Shadow. Sky, I cut yours short because there was one that I absolutely loved, and I was laughing so hard when I read it that, you know, it's that rule of improv comedy, Jason. No matter what you have planned, you stop on the big laugh. Like, when you get the big laugh, that's the end, even if you had other stuff to do. And so I stopped your comment about halfway through. So Hydrex Sky Shadow says, okay, sure, here's my ideas. Hopefully at least one would be good enough for you, or at least gives you an idea. Most original classes, best world design, most disturbing or distinguished art style, determined by how...
disturbing would be pretty good, too.
Right? Determined by how easy it is to recognize the game by its graphics. I think that's a really interesting one. Like, you know MapleStory when you see MapleStory. like that.
Yeah.
Biggest mount variety, best character customization, best action, most original/interesting storyline, original/fun to fight/interesting bosses. I really like that list. Games that are easy to spend too much time in, top grinding games, best experience with a friend, and the one I had to end it on was games that ruin friendships. Because I thought that is brilliant. That needs to be a list within the next month, is the top 5 free-to-play games that ruin friendships. Because there's quite a few that I thought of right off the top of my head that I've literally been in arguments while playing. So, the damn good one there. Go ahead, Jason.
ArcAge was definitely the one that ruined.
Hell yeah.
Oh my god, the politics in that game, man.
Go ahead, Jason.
Sokapek says, crazy top 5? What is your top 5 most clickbaity YouTube thumbnails ever? I know you've got some pretty good ones that you can take the heat.
Oh, I don't. We've done some clickbaity titles here and there, but I don't know if I've ever really used clickbaity thumbnails. I have to look through it. I don't know.
If we do this, the name of the video has to be these 5 games you have to see or something like that. You know?
Oh yeah. The 5 games that'll change your life. Yeah, but there's also that period of time where I wasn't with MMO Bomb, so I don't know what thumbnail Spunkify might have used. Yeah, we'll have to look. Yeah, we don't mind making fun of ourselves.
So. All we have to do, of course, all we have to do too is just go to Facebook, and there's bound to be something on the side.
Yeah.
You can't beat level 1. It's whatever.
Go ahead, Zach.
Sokapek. Oh no, Christopher Hall says top 5 games you really want to like but just can't.
So kind of the opposite.
Yeah, that's actually a list that a YouTuber named Cry I watch has done. So.
Serulai says top 5 MMOs from China, Taiwan, Europe, Japan, South Korea, Russia, North America. It would really help highlight differences/similarities in design choices between regions. That video would be all Zachary Sharps, man. That one would be straight you. Question of the week this week. Do you agree with Lord of the Rings Online's decision not to go to Mordor as the destruction of the ring takes place? Now, even if you aren't a Lord of the Rings Online player, I kind of want your opinion on this, knowing that it's an iconic moment. Do you think this respects the lore in a good way, or does it take a huge set piece away from players? Let me know what would happen in your game of choice if that type of decision had to be made in the comments below. Make sure you leave your weekly bombs, da bomb for something good, a bomb for something bad. And until next week, Zach, where can everybody find you?
Eric, find me on Twitter at Zach Sharps. Very simple.
Mr. Winter.
I'm far less simple. Find me on Twitter at Winter Informal. Find me streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter, where I've been getting Lara Croft killed in all sorts of crazy ways.
Fantastic.
And maybe I'll even have a new MMO to stream soon.
Ooh. Interesting.
Not a new game, but something new to me.
I'm Mike Burton, aka Magic Man. Follow me there on Twitter, MagicMan1, and follow at MMOBomb so that you get all the links for the latest articles, news, videos, giveaways. Come on over to the site to check it all out. And until next week, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.